Les Parisiens auront à se déterminer sur la ville dans laquelle ils veulent vivre.
Et moi, je souhaite que le 18e, le 19e, le 20e ne soit plus la poubelle de Paris.
And there are problems about how the streets are handled, about security.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. Now we're just a week or so away from municipal elections here in France, and they're held every 6 years. The first round will be held on the 15th of March, the second round on the 22nd, and hanging in the balance is control of 35,000 communes across the country. But perhaps the most closely watched race of all is the race to win the keys to Hôtel de Ville, City Hall here in Paris. Well, it's been an interesting campaign so far, full of surprises, not least because the president's chosen candidate, Benjamin Griveaux, was forced to bow out after he became embroiled in a sexting scandal. Well, leading in the polls is the incumbent mayor, Anne Hidalgo, and I think it's fair to say that every Paris resident has an opinion about her.
If Anne Hidalgo's legacy could be summed up in a word, it would be traffic. The incumbent mayor's most prominent and controversial measure is undoubtedly closing the Seine's riverbank roads to vehicles back in 2016.
Can you imagine a park on the Seine? Well, now we have one.
While pedestrians are delighted, drivers have been fuming about traffic jams ever since. Anne Hidalgo says she's not against cars, but against pollution, and prides herself on the move's impact.
No, there are not more traffic jams. In fact, there are fewer cars in Paris now. In 2001, 60% of all Parisian households had a car. Today, that's 35%. So people aren't using cars as much, and that's a good thing because they're the main source of air pollution, and air pollution levels have improved.
But that statement is only a half-truth. While there are indeed fewer cars, reducing the number of roads open to traffic has led Paris to be crowned France's most congested city of 2019, with a total of 163 hours of gridlock per driver, compared to 156 hours 2 years earlier. On the pollution front, Monitor Air Paris agrees there's an improvement, and banning the worst offending vehicles during pollution peaks has also made a difference. The aim of all these efforts? To make room for Anne Hidalgo's real pet project, cycling. The mayor's initial plan was to double the capital's 700 kilometres of bicycle lanes, and while just 300 more have been carved out, there's no backpedalling on cycling itself, which is a rising trend. In 2018, the town hall's plans faced a number of challenges. First, a spat over financing with transport group Bolloré saw the city's open-access fleet of electric cars disappear overnight. Then the change of operator for Paris's bike-sharing system led to months of empty bike stands. The mayor was also slow to act on the chaotic arrival of some 20,000 e-scooters. Another source of criticism is the doubling of Paris's debt levels, from 3 to 6 billion euros in 6 years. City Hall explains the issue away by pointing to the construction of social housing, which it aims will make up 30% of all real estate to keep the city socially inclusive. Dirty streets are also a pet peeve for Parisians. While local authorities spend 550 million euros a year on cleaning them up, the city's 300 maintenance agents are struggling to keep them that way.
Vous allez faire malheureusement l'objet d'une verbalisation pour les jets de mégots. Le timbrement il sera de 68 €.
68 €?
Oui.
Despite this onslaught of criticism, Anne Hidalgo can boast one massive notch on her mayor's belt, and that's Paris's winning bid to host the 2024 Olympics. A victory none of her predecessors had ever pulled off.
Whoever runs for mayor of the City of Light can end up rising to the very top job in French politics. So the expectations that Paris residents have of their mayor are high. Let's take a listen.
Du vert, partout.
Que Paris soit beaucoup plus propre, les trottoirs sont dégoûtants, les poubelles sont renversées sans arrêt.
C'est la sécurité. J'habite Paris 11e et je me suis fait cambrioler 3 fois dans l'année.
Le pouvoir au maire d'arrondissement.
Well, Paris residents expect a lot from their mayor, and the role is a high-profile one. Well, as we've been saying, riding high in the polls is the incumbent mayor, Anne Hidalgo, but also riding high is another well-known woman in French politics, the right-leaning Rachida Dati. Well, let's take a closer look now at who else is in the running.
The race to unseat Anne Hidalgo is on. Hoping to recover the helm of Paris City Hall after almost 20 years of socialist rule, French conservatives are pinning their hopes on Rachida Dati. A former justice minister under Nicolas Sarkozy and mayor of the capital's 7th district, Dati has placed security, clean streets and traffic problems at the heart of her campaign.
I want to establish separate areas for pedestrians, for bicycles, to make sure that pavements are respected once again. But I also want cars to be able to move around freely.
My campaign started 48 hours ago, so...
The third front-running candidate in this race is a latecomer to the game. Until just a month before the vote, Paris Town Hall wasn't even in her sights, as Health Minister Agnès Buzyn was busy handling the start of the COVID-19 crisis when she was chosen to take over from Benjamin Griveaux, who jumped ship amid a sex scandal. An inauspicious start for President Macron's République En Marche, that's throwing its hat in the mayoral ring for the very first time. Buzyn is now hoping to seduce Parisian voters with a green and transport-centred platform.
The city isn't ready. It wasn't planned with climate change in mind. I'm not dead set against handing over some streets to pedestrians, but I don't agree with the idea of banning cars from the city centre, which just pushes congestion to the rest of Paris and its suburbs.
But the last-minute change of candidate isn't the only thorn in the ruling party's side. Popular mathematician and MP Cédric Villani had broken ranks to pursue his own dissident centrist ticket. Best known for his flamboyant style and winning a Fields Medal in 2010, his head for numbers has become a key advantage on the campaign trail.
My motto is use modern science, algorithms to serve citizens for a better quality of service and a better quality of life.
Villani could have formed an alliance with the Greens, but its candidate, David Béliard, has decided to run against him on a very similar platform, leaving Parisians to read the fine print.
For more analysis of these mayoral elections and what's at stake, we can go now to the Centre for Political Research at Sciences Po. Bruno Cotres, thank you very much for talking to us. First of all, tell us, what do these municipal elections tell us about the popularity of the government of the day?
The municipal elections in France are very important for French people. There are stakes not just on the local level, but also on the national level. For a year and a half, French society has been in crisis. There have been the Yellow Vest movement and the pension reform protests, so there'll be a number of protest votes against Emmanuel Macron. These elections will also expose the great difficulty faced by Macron's party, Republic on the Move, in building support in rural areas. It was formed 3 years ago and has been very successful in big cities, but struggles to appeal to the fringes of society, those in rural areas, those who are worse off. And these elections will highlight this.
And of all the municipal races, the race to win Paris as mayor is perhaps the most closely watched. There's lots of candidates in the running, and they've all got different visions. How different would you say the visions are from one candidate to the other of what Paris could be like?
What's really interesting in these elections is that the paradigm of the left and the right is there. Emmanuel Macron has been trying to tell us for 3 years that the left-right paradigm has disappeared. He says that's old politics, that's history. But these elections have shown it's still there, for example, around the issue of public safety. Another difficult topic is transport and cars in Paris. Since 2014, when she was elected mayor of Paris, a defining aspect of Anne Hidalgo's term has been reducing the use of cars in the city, and she's cut traffic by 30 to 40%. She's mostly achieved her goal, but has paid a heavy price by sacrificing the flow of people.
And it's been an interesting campaign as well. I mean, quite a lot of surprises. And perhaps the most surprising element was the Benjamin Griveaux scandal. What would you say that has changed as far as the race for City Hall is concerned?
It's had a big effect because Benjamin Griveaux was very close to Emmanuel Macron. He was part of the government and one of Macron's early team members. What happened to him was very bad news for Macron's party. It's had a big impact because they had to find a new candidate, the former health minister Agnès Buzyn, who took on the role of Republic on the Move's candidate for mayor overnight. She's ended up leading a much better campaign than Benjamin Griveaux. Her challenge is finding her own brand. Is she simply Benjamin Griveaux's replacement, or can she convince people what kind of candidate she is and what kind of mayor she'd be?
Bruno Cotres here at the Centre for Political Research at Sciences Po. Thank you very much indeed. That's all we have time for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.